Welcome, Fee. Thanks for taking a little bit of time out. I'm sure a very busy day to spend a little time with me and do this lovely podcast. So if you could just introduce yourself, tell us a little about who you are and what your company is.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I'm Fee Wylie. I run Brand Champions, which is a marketing consultancy.
Fantastic. So tell us a bit about how did you get into this? I mean, it's always interesting the backstory to how people become a business owner. So where did you start out?
Yeah, I'd always wanted to work in marketing. So I did a degree in marketing and I'd kind of worked my way up, worked at lots of the kind of big companies you would expect to see on someone's CV and kind of worked my way up across the ranks and then had my children and life just became quite tricky to balance wanting to still have a great job, work in the industry that I absolutely love and still do, and be at home and be around for my kids. And I'm going back 15 years, so although progress has been made, things were a bit different then. So part-time work was quite tricky. So it really became apparent that there was a real need for people like me to still work on brilliant brands, still do a job they love, but have some flexibility and freedom around children, or whatever's going on in their life. So that's really why Brand Champions started initially. It was just me giving myself that freedom and that flexibility and kind of part-time, then grew to me kind of wanting to have the summer off with my children because they, as we all know, they grow up too quickly. And then it kind of really just blew up from there, and I was able to bring more people on board that had a similar situation to me that I'd worked with before or perhaps come across in my career. And more clients and clients coming to us liking what we offered, and we grew and grew from there, really.
Brilliant. I mean, one of the things I love when I spoke to you was the fact that so many women, go into business because of the lack of flexibility of the workplace. So they start a business and say, look, this is not working. I need a business that can work around my family and my commitments. And you've done that. But not only you've done that, you've created an opportunity for other women to do the same. Because you spoke to me about talent. There's a lot of talent, of course, in marketing. A lot of women work in marketing, but they're lost to the industry if they're pushed out of the industry because the work situation doesn't match their situation. So I just
Yeah.
find that's really brilliant. So in terms of your company, then what does that look like? People say marketing consultancy. A lot of people out there
Mm.
say I do marketing, and I say to them,
Yeah.
what do you do?
What does
And
that
they're
actually
not
mean? Yeah.
really at your level. So
Mm.
tell us a little bit more about what you actually do for clients.
So we offer a service that is quite unique, and I'll talk to you later about a recommendation, something I listened to. But we're quite unique in the market of we offer something called SOS marketing, and that is basically we parachute into a client's business, and we will run as part of their marketing teams. And we've all been ex-clients ourselves, like I said, a lot of us, and so we can just go in, drop in, know the kind of meetings you need to go to, know the processes, know the structure you need to run things to, and so we will just act as part of a team, and that can be really senior level marketing director or assistant brand managers or brand managers, and we will run out absolutely anything from TV ads, digital ads, PR campaigns, you name it. At some point we have done it, and that's proving to be probably our most popular service. And that's kind of even gone on to now running SOS for events and creative SOS. And so, yeah, that offering is kind of really spreading in terms of less of that agency client relationship, but more of that come and be part of our team and help fill those gaps that you might have from maternity or sickness or new skill that you need in the team.
That's interesting because one of the challenges, of course, coaching is that I can advise what to do, I can support what to do,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's a bit like
Where,
saying do your press ups, but it's not me doing the press ups. You got to do the press
whereas
ups.
we
So,
do it, we actually
but
go
you're
in and do
doing,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I think is fantastic because people might. It's easy to learn what to do.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do it though. You can read
No.
it in a book or I don't know. You can watch a video or something. People can, or you could tell them what to do. But if they don't have the in-house capacity to do it,
Exactly.
what happens then? They'll walk away
Yeah.
and they'll go, 6 months later, how are you getting on? And we'll go, oh, we've not really got far. We haven't really done anything.
Yeah, well,
So
time. We're also time poor these days.
yeah,
We're all in back-to-back meetings. We've all got increasing demands put on us. Like, how do you get to your day job, or how do you step away from your day job to do some of the big thinking stuff if you're in those back-to-back meetings? And, quite often I'm pulled in at a point that teams are at burnout. I want to be there before they get to burnout. So it doesn't have to be like that. And we can help lift that load. And that's when it works best, that you support a team and help lift them up rather than bail them out when they're frustrated, they want to leave, they're struggling. So it's a really fine line, isn't it, between spending money on additional resource and managing the workload. And yeah, so that's I guess where I think we can help most.
no, brilliant. Yeah, and also doing it on the cheap doesn't necessarily work. So saying,
No.
"Oh, don't worry, we'll do it ourselves," but
Yeah.
6 months into it, maybe not much has happened, or the
Yeah.
expertise is just not there, and you've kind of, in a way, thrown away money with
Yeah.
doing it with people who are not necessarily skilled for it. How would you? So you go in, you've got your team or team members in organizations. How
Yeah.
do you have to demonstrate to them a return on investment? Do they have to show profit? Is it what? How do they
Yeah.
measure
I
that?
mean, definitely. I mean, having been on their side of the fence, I'm obsessed with KPIs probably as much as they are, and proving our worth. I mean, a lot of the value to them is getting stuff out the door on time, on budget, making stuff happen, like you rightly say, that just is not getting anywhere fast because of the kind of day-to-day running of a business. So I think there's some really easy, tangible results you can see straight away from having extra pairs of hands in, as we all would. But then it's also about making sure we've set up kind of measurement systems to say, okay, what does success look like for you? Is it about driving awareness? Is it about getting sales through the funnel? Is it about just getting more people to consider your brand? So we're doing all of that KPI work as part of it to make sure they know what success looks like. We might be in a business a month, we might be in a business 12 months. It's really hard to say it's a one size fits all.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I'll tell you a secret. I did an MBA in 2000. I graduated in 2008, and I did an MBA, and I was very proud of myself because I got my highest mark in marketing.
Oh yeah.
And when I went to Action Coach in 2011 to do training in the US, I realized I didn't know a damn thing about marketing because I thought marketing, the four P's and all this classic academic stuff. But the
Yeah.
people who were teaching me, I don't think had run a bath. They hadn't run anything. I don't think they've actually done marketing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can read it in a book, but to understand that marketing is a very broad church, that's what I came to understand. It's broad from PR on one end to absolute profit on the other end,
Yeah.
and anything in between. So a lot of
Yeah.
people, what I find now, a lot of people come to me with what they say they're doing for marketing, and I say to them, I'm not talking big brands here. I'm talking small
Yeah. Yeah.
entrepreneurs, small businesses. So brand awareness is not really where they're at because they're so small. It's not really about brand. I mean, if you're a lot of, I don't
They
know,
want sales.
yeah, a restaurant on the high road, it's not really a
Yeah.
brand issue. It's more how do you get people in there?
Yeah.
And they tell me all this stuff they're doing on social media and it's not working. And I say, well, the average person, I'm not talking central London, the average person on a high street in London is not Googling their local restaurant to go to you. They're probably just going to go to where they see local. So you got to use a different set of tools. So it made me realize that marketing
Yeah.
is very
So
contextual. It's got to be
yeah.
contextual to that company. You can't just use something you've read in a book and just say here is some marketing. It doesn't work that way. And from what I'm hearing from you, you get really into the company to really understand what is that company trying to do. And probably, I'm assuming you have to advise them sometimes gently that maybe all their PR stuff that they're talking about is not necessarily going to match making money. So you've got to kind of steer them into, yes, brand awareness, but don't you want customers to buy from you as well? It
Yeah,
can't be just
it's doing
awareness.
all of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, so like you say, there's so many layers to it. And I work in a funnel system. So how do you feed the top, awareness, consideration, and how do you get results at the bottom, right through to recommendations. Because ultimately, if you're a restaurant on the high street, you want someone to come out of your restaurant and go, that place is amazing. That's what's going to get people going in through the door. So it's looking at all of that and really understanding the market, the audience. There's a lot to it up front. If you've not done that upfront work, it's not going to pay back in the execution stuff. So yeah, it's more complicated than people think. We're not just colouring pretty pictures, as some of my friends tell me all the time.
100%, absolutely. Now, I see your passion for marketing. There's no question about that. You've got that passion for marketing, which is fantastic because you run a marketing consultancy. But as you get bigger and you've grown,
yeah,
I'm assuming, tell me if I'm wrong, that you're going to spend more of your day managing the business and looking at where you're going, and not necessarily the nitty gritty of marketing. Maybe your own company, but you know what I mean. So how do you marry those two things together? What's your day? You know, and I'm sort of asking, what's your day job? What do you spend your time doing?
It's
Focusing
so
on.
varied. Yeah, it's so varied. Like every day is different. We talked about like daily routines and stuff, and I couldn't say to you today will be so different to tomorrow. Like I'm doing this with you now, and I'll do lots of different things. I might do lots of PR stuff, lots of talking about flexible and kind of part-time working for women, and all good stuff in that area. And then the next day I'll spend maybe a day running a workshop for a client and be really hands-on. So I kind of try and combine all of the things that I love doing, whilst empowering my team to kind of take on the running of the business. So it's a fine line. You're sort of learning as you go. And my team probably say I step in on some things too much, and then I'll step back out and kind of give them the space. So we're all growing together, really. It's a learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we spoke about before the interview was about women's health
Yeah.
and women in general. Could you tell me a bit about how does your business, or how does your life, the things you do, how do you
Yeah.
champion that among, in terms of the things you're doing?
I'm really lucky. I've got a few clients that are already in the women's health space, particularly menopause. So I've worked with some brands. So I feel fairly well qualified to want to be able to talk about it. And then having a team that is sort of 80-90% women, as I say, we're varying ages, and we've all been through many things in women's health, right from periods, menopause, childbirth, all of those things that affect women in terms of their health across their careers as well. And you can see we've actually ran our own research and had some really alarming results of how many people were exiting businesses because they just weren't being supported, and how sort of isolating it was when you compare that to the sort of men's health and how sort of stable it stays across those years. And so that's why it's something I will always talk about. I'm super passionate. I've run a few panels on it, and we'll continue to work in that area to just tirelessly keep the conversation going and champion the conversation, because I think you can't do anything about it if you're not prepared to speak about it. And I am really open to have that dialogue. And I have that dialogue with men because I think it's all very well saying, oh, it's different for men. You have to have that dialogue with them as well, right?
Absolutely, 100%. That's really brilliant. It may be something we might talk off camera as well about some opportunities that you could be a good person to come and do a talk at some places, because I work with a lot of organizations and we do a lot of work around equality and diversity, but lived experiences, but also evidence-based thinking can help, because you get 10 people in a room, everybody's got an opinion, bit like being down the pub, isn't it? But when you have data and lived experience, it trumps just an opinion, and therefore,
insight is key.
yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we just go around in circles, isn't it? I don't agree, you agree, and we're just not going anywhere. So that's interesting. Do you have any particular people you admire in business or personally?
Oh, so many. When I was thinking about this, there's just so many. It's so hard to think. So one of the people, when you ask me who do I think of as a successful person in business, I go right back to Coco Chanel, right? Which if you think about what she did for the fashion industry and how she was so pioneering of her day, and she changed women's fashion, she was so independent, she was just fearless and bold and brave, and I think that's really inspirational. And then you bring that up to more recent years, someone like Anita, who was, founded and started the Body Shop, so strongly believed in changing and making consumers more aware of the products they were buying. I think, again, there's just, you can look to every single avenue, and there's just so many inspirational, for me personally, inspirational women who have done amazing things in business.
Mm. No, that's interesting. And fortunately, we live in a time when people have become more aware of women in business and what their contribution is in business. My wife was on a webinar a few days ago with Deborah Meaden. Apparently, it was a world record for the number of people on a webinar. Apparently, it trumped Bill Gates. So that was quite
Really?
interesting to see how things
Wow.
have. Yeah, apparently, I don't know if it's true, but
Yeah.
it sounded good
It's a
anyway.
good stat. It's a good stat.
It's a
We'll go
good
with the
story,
stat.
you know. It's a good
Yeah.
story, and it sounds good. So I'm not
Yeah.
knocking it, but it was just interesting that people like Deborah Mead and like yourself and others are higher profile and giving a perception of women in business, which is I hope, a positive perception of women in business.
I hope so too.
And the fact that they're not all they're a lot of women with children.
Yeah.
Because it's easy
Yeah.
to say a woman who's successful who doesn't have children, and you think, oh
Yeah.
well, yeah, well, it was all great for you,
Yeah. Yeah.
but when you see mothers who
Yeah.
have had to struggle with children and childcare and all those other things, then it is quite inspirational, as you said, and have changed the world, which is quite fascinating to see. In terms of your business, I don't know how far in the future you look, because it is difficult to predict the future. I mean, there's things that happen, like, I don't know, maybe Brexit, maybe COVID, maybe Trump winning the second time. I don't know. The first time even, I don't know. It surprises people sometimes, but we don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 years. But we still encourage business owners to have some kind of plans or vision for where they're going. What's the plan for the brand champions in maybe the next 5 years or so?
I think you're right. You're absolutely right. Like, it's really hard to predict. I go to things like AI that are massively changing the way our industry works. And so it's really hard to predict. What I would say is my goals stay the same. I want to continue growing in a turnover goal. I want to do something that makes clients happy. So I measure client satisfaction, and that's my key measure of success, and my team happiness. And I measure my team happiness. And I think as long as I keep doing those three things for the next 5 years, then I'm winning. And then we keep doing what we're doing. And I like you rightly say, I absolutely love this industry and love what I do. And so as long as I've got that love for the industry, it might change. The shape of the business might change. We might do slightly different things, and we might innovate with what's happening in the market. But yeah, I mean, it would be really sad times if we didn't have a plan for growth and a plan to keep doing something that we genuinely love.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. I like the three pillars. You mentioned turnover for the business,
Yeah,
customer success, and happy
yeah,
team. That's a pretty good
yeah,
triangle of to base any business on. Those three pillars, because there are
yeah.
measurables as well. They can be measured. They're not just a sort of a aspirational thing. Because some people say
No,
to me, "How do you measure these things?" But I say, "Yeah, well, obviously money can be measured. That's one,
yeah,
and profits, but you can measure customer satisfaction if you're willing
yeah,
to ask. You don't need to be scared. I always say to companies, you don't want to be scared of your customer, because wouldn't you rather them tell you what they think than they're saying it behind your back?
yeah,
You want to know what they
absolutely.
think, good and bad. I mean, you want
Yeah,
to know the good things as well, isn't it? Because there could be good things you do that you're thinking of changing that they don't want you to change. Do you
yeah,
remember
we
that
are.
classic? Sorry, go on.
No, 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 go on.
I was going to say that there was a classic moment many years ago when Coca-Cola, one of the biggest companies in the world, somebody had a great idea that they were going to make a classic Coke, a new version. And
Yeah,
they did all the testing and all the taste tests, and it won all the taste tests. And when they launched it, it bombed terribly,
yeah,
because they didn't factor in one thing: human psyche. That people didn't want change.
yeah,
When you tested them, they said, "Oh yeah, that tastes nice." But when
yeah,
they went to the shop, they wanted to buy what they always bought, because that's what they knew. and they didn't want a new version, and it bombed terribly, almost caused them to, turn the company upside down because of
Yeah.
some great idea that, that's going to happen. And so you can test customer satisfaction, but you've got to be a bit careful with
Yeah.
some
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
misleading information about customers wanting change, when customers sometimes don't want as much change as you're thinking.
I
So I
think
just
what
got
they say they will do versus what they do are two very different things, and that's important that you understand that. I mean, we send out a customer satisfaction every quarter, and so that like you rightly say, I didn't want three pillars of success that we couldn't measure. So we can actually measure it, and we can see when clients are starting to get unhappy, or why they're getting unhappy, or they're getting happier. Great, what are we doing so right? So I think it's learning on every single aspect. The same for the team. I'm constantly reaching out to my team, doing surveys, making sure we're not missing something, looking at bonuses, rewards. Like it's not just coming to work to get paid, is it? There's so much more than that. And so making sure we
100%.
measure all of those things will lead to that ultimate goal in my head. So yeah, measurement underpins all
Absolutely.
three of those pillars that I just spoke to you about.
Yeah, I can't emphasize it enough. Measurement and feedback and data
Yeah.
makes decision making so much stronger. You still might make mistakes, but it's a much stronger base to make decisions from if you've got data. Guessing, I wouldn't say it's a
Or
great
gut feel.
strategy in
Yeah.
life. Yeah, not for a business anyway. Um, one of the challenges you mentioned about keeping staff happy, but most business owners say to me that one of their biggest challenges is managing staff. As much as you love them or whatever, but it can be a challenge. Human beings, we're complicated, right?
Yeah.
We want to get paid, we want this and that, but it can get complicated. I just wonder what lessons you've learned in trying to keep your staff happy, but you've also got to keep them productive. I mean, you can make them all happy, maybe send them home and just keep paying them, but happy needs to be a balance between delivery and motivation, isn't it? I don't know. How do you find that?
Yeah. I think for me, it's about treating them as I want to be treated. And that's always been my kind of ethic. Like, I would hope if you spoke to one of my team, they would say, I'm very fair, I'm very flexible, I'm very open, I'm here. They know I'm always here, and I will always prioritize them over anything else, so they can come to me anytime. And I think anyone in my organization would say that. So, but also I like to treat them individually rather than a collective. So some of my team want more time with me, or more face to face, or more training, whereas some of my team want to be left and want to be quite empowered to get on and do their own thing. So I think for me, it's understanding those different dynamics that every single person has got in your team, and changing your behavior accordingly rather than expecting them to change their behavior to meet you. So that's always been my kind of philosophy, and I've definitely learned that as I've got older. I definitely didn't get that right in my early days in my career, because you sort of end up being a manager not necessarily for having the right management skills, but for being good at your job, which I always find is a bit bizarre. And so I sort of feel like you make some mistakes early on, and then yeah, I sort of feel like I've grown into it as I've kind of matured and got kids and kind of got more settled in where my career is and what I'm trying to do.
No, brilliant. Yeah, and as you said, treating staff individually is really important. I mean, it's something we're learning more about management skills these days, is that one fit, you can't one fit doesn't suit everybody. You just can't do
No.
that. People are so variable, as you said, and this home working is a classic. I had to
Yeah.
teach this to managers, that remember there's a fine line between great support and feeling you're harassed. So you
Yeah.
get one
Yeah.
member of staff says, I've been abandoned. I work from home. Nobody speaks to me. I've been left here. Nobody's rang me all week, and I feel
Yeah.
totally abandoned. And another person's complaining, why is she ringing me all the time? You keep ringing me and you're harassing me. You don't need to ring me every day or every week.
Yeah.
Just let me be. And there's a fine line between those two bits of support. You can't let them do
Absolutely.
absolutely everything on their own, and you can't be ringing them every 5 minutes either. So, but
No.
but as you said, people are different. Somebody wants that support, and somebody doesn't want you to ring them every day. So you've got to try and find that balance. And it's good to hear that you're saying you look at it by the individual, not by just a way of treating everybody.
Yeah. Totally.
Some
Totally.
people say they treat everybody the same, but it sounds right, but it actually doesn't work
No,
because people
no.
are so different. So that's quite interesting. One of the things about learnings is, do you do much reading? Is it something you do read, or do you do audiobooks? Do you do
Oh
YouTube?
my God. I love it. I'm like a proper geek when it comes to, because I just think you can learn from everything and everyone. And, people who introduce me to people all the time, and I'm like, I just love, because you can get a nugget of something from anywhere, right?
Absolutely.
Um, so yes, I've got a few of my favorites here to show you. This is one, Pebbles of Perception, which is a really, really brilliant one. It's got scribbles from me all over it, and it's been lent out to a few of my friends. This is another one. I don't know if you can read that, but it says, "Get your shit
Get your
together,"
shit
if I'm allowed
together.
to say that. And there's a few great books that she does, and she teaches you about, Sarah Knight teaches you about how to make priorities and what are real priorities, must-dos versus just a really long to-do list. So that one has been one I go back to and I scribble all over. This is another one by the guys at Agency Nomics, How to Grow Your Agency to the First 5 Million, which has been an absolute lifesaver. And again, I go back to it and I look at specific chapters and I scribble on it.
What's the company called?
Agency Nomics.
Agency Nomics. Wow.
Really good book. I'm sort of part way through this one at the moment, Alchemy by Rory Sutherland, which is all about being bold and kind of, here it says, the magic of original thinking in a world of mind-numbing conformity. So just about how you're bold and how you're brave. And so yeah, that's a few of my favorites for you to have a look at. And I'm listening to a great podcast at the moment by a guy called Robin Bonn, The Immortal Life of Agencies, obviously relevant to my industry only, but quite a lot of them talk about how marketing is a bit doom and gloom and, it's hard times, whereas Robin's podcast is so positive, and he's the person I referenced at the start of the interview that's all about being a kind of class of one. How do you create a market that's just about you, and how do you not get compared to other people? And I think even if you're not in the business, just so much of what they talk about is real common sense and just a really good listen. I like to listen to it when I go to the gym because I'm sad like that. But
Well, I do audiobooks at the gym as well. It's one of my favorite activities. If I haven't got an audiobook, I get wound up. I think, oh, I'm missing an opportunity because
yeah,
I just listen
exactly.
to, they've got the music on or the radio or something on at the gym, and I'm thinking, why am I listening to this? This is not. No, this is a great opportunity to listen to a book or something, And
Exactly. So that's
you,
my go-to.
no, that's brilliant. I get so many book recommendations. I've got books everywhere. I've got tons of audiobooks as well because I do the subscription, so I get an audiobook every
Yeah,
month. But
yeah,
then I buy some books that I think I want to reference
yeah.
because audiobook's good to listen to, but if you want to reference it, you got to go back and find the bits. And as you said, I get my highlighter pen and put it all
Yeah,
over.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So I
So
love that as well. Yeah.
yeah.
So now I can identify with that. But there's some books there that I'm definitely going to look into and see if I can
Pebbles of
get.
Wisdom is definitely one that's not relevant to my industry. It's actually just a really good.
What's
What's the
that one
name? It
called?
was the first one I showed you, Pebbles of Wisdom by
Oh,
Lawrence Anderson.
I wrote down Pebbles of Perception. Why did I write that? I don't
Sorry,
know.
you're right. It's Pebbles of Perception.
Oh,
It says how a few good choices make all the difference.
yeah. My wife, who I think will be interested in some of these as well. So I'll mention them to her as well. Fantastic. So we're coming towards the end, and I've absolutely enjoyed it. I love doing these. I learned so much. If I gave you £100 million, it's a nice thought, isn't it? £100 million.
Yeah, you're
And
going
it's
to. Is this going to be a big surprise at the end of the podcast?
just grabbing it now. Give you £100 million and say, and to invest in your business or in other businesses, what would you do with it?
Do you know what? Honestly, I'd keep doing what we're doing, but I'd do more of it. There's so many businesses that I think that we can help, and I just can't get the word out fast enough or get enough coverage to get to enough people. So I would definitely try and scale at speed and do more of what we're doing to spread the good word, because I think we're getting really positive feedback. We get return growth. All the indications suggest to me that what we're doing is right. So definitely more of the same. I'd invest more into kind of automation and AI and making sure we were kind of really ahead of the curve in terms of where the market's going. And you know, because you don't want to be a dinosaur sat here and be reactive to something that's happening and it sort of happens around you. I kind of want to be on the front foot of that. Do more charity work. Charity work I'm super passionate about. I work, we do a lot with the Hygiene Bank, which is a brilliant charity that for people that are living in hygiene poverty, again, very closely linked to women's health, as I said, which is close to my heart. So yeah, so I mean, there's just 100 million. There's so much you could do, and there's
Absolutely.
You know, yeah.
By
I
the
could
way,
spend it for you. I could definitely spend it for you.
definitely spend it. But I didn't ask this question. I only just thought of it when you were saying about how many people you could help. I never asked. It could be maybe an obvious question I didn't think of. How does a marketing consultancy market itself?
Oh, you know, it's like cobbler's children. They always say cobbler's children have the worst shoes. I think we probably put it last, actually. We're just doing a bit of an exciting rebrand ourselves on our logo and things like that. So we have got some exciting stuff coming up in our marketing. I love running in-person events. So we do a lot of sort of really good in-person events. Sneak preview, the next one that we're having. We've got a very exciting winner of the Olympics coming to talk,
Oh wow.
because it's all about having that champion mindset. So stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, that's the stuff I love doing. And it's just a great way to kind of meet and greet people and people to see us in real life, you know, and much rather spend. I always say to people, don't spend any money on marketing until you really know what you're doing, because you want every pound to count. You don't want to be throwing money away. So yeah, I try and pick the right things very wisely,
No,
hopefully.
brilliant. Brilliant. And just my final question really is, uh, I'm sure many of the people watching this will be business owners. Some might be aspiring business owners. What couple of tips would you give them about just the business in general?
Um, do what you love. Like, I think if you've got to a point where you're really miserable and you're really hating it and you can't just see your way out, it's not the right business for you. I mean, I'm really lucky that I love it. And don't get me wrong, that I have tough days and there's challenges and all of that good stuff. But on the whole, the love for this industry kind of keeps me going. So I would say that is my number one tip. The worst piece of advice I was ever given when I started out was there are no friends in business. That is categorically the worst advice ever, because I am surrounded by friends that have helped me, that have recommended me, that have given me tips, that have, you know, sort of lifted me when I felt like things are really tough. So I would say surround yourself by people you trust and let them support you and give them the freedom to do what they do well as well, rather than trying to sort of micromanage everything. So they're kind of like my two kind of biggest tips, I would say.
No, I love that. Yeah, it is interesting because tonight we have Dragon and sorry, tonight we have The Apprentice on,
Oh yeah.
and it can do a lot of damage to the perception of us in business that you get those people at the beginning and say, I'll step on anybody's neck to achieve what I want to achieve. And you're thinking, we're trying to get away from that perception that all business people are bad and wicked and horrible. And then you get that program on, and it's like, to win this, you got to be really horrible to other people. It's like, but no, the best way in business is collaboration. And as you said, you'd be surprised. People out there will support you and do it for nothing. It's not like there's something in it for them necessarily. They'll just do
No,
it because they like you or because they believe in your project or whatever it is. And it's really nice to hear that the worst advice was somebody telling you there's no friends in business. Well, that doesn't have to be the case. It doesn't have to be so cynical.
I am definitely not recruiting anyone who says they will do what they can or step on anyone to get success, that's like my red flag. I'd be
It's a
like,
terrible.
yeah, you're definitely not in my business.
It's a terrible message,
So
isn't it?
yeah,
I mean, why would
yeah,
you want somebody like that in your company? I mean, what damage could they potentially do to one of your
yeah,
clients or whoever else? Damage your reputation if they go out there
yeah,
behaving in that way. So absolutely
yeah,
not. So yeah, glad to finish on a positive about human beings. Not all human
yeah.
beings are horrible and bad.
Absolutely not. There's a lot of good ones out there.
Yeah. So V, I just wanted to say absolutely thank you for taking time out to give us all these nuggets and fantastic book recommendations. Loads of stuff we're learning from you here. So I'm hoping everybody else got as much out of it as I did.
Thank you so much. So nice to meet you.
Thank you.